everybody. We are back with another amazing interview. Y'all, I'm super excited to bring you this interview because we not only get to talk to somebody from the collegiate level, but we get to talk to an actual podcaster turned consultant.
Yeah.
So, without any further ado, I'm going to let her introduce herself to you. Tell us who you are, and also tell us about the moment that you knew that you could do something different and you didn't have to just stick to the same thing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, definitely first, thank you for this. Thank you for this opportunity. You are amazing. And I told you I met you checking out Funky Dineva, and there you were. So I'm so glad we're together. But I am Yoli Tamu. I am a 25-year veteran educator in Los Angeles Unified School District. And I'm also a college podcast host. And wow, what led me to hosting was actually students. I was not looking for this. I was running from this. Literally at 3 o'clock. It's time to go home. Okay. And so they pretty much kept pulling on me. And for like 10 plus years, we did after school programming. It just got so serious. The conversation was intense. I said, whoa, I'm not a therapist or a social worker. So we're going to need to do something about this. They inspired it. They said, you need a podcast. So 4 years ago, we started a podcast, actually, during COVID. And I lost my dad in July 2020. And my dad was a self-made man, put us all through college. And he was actually a government contractor for the post office. And so I just said, in dedication to my dad, I'm going to do this podcast. I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to, stay here and do this business. And that was the inspiration. My dad, it was like, okay, I need to go into business for myself. And these students are pushing me. So it just really felt like a calling from the beginning.
Okay, now let's go. Let's take a step back because I know folks got questions. Okay,
Okay.
so 25 years, LA Unified,
Mm-hmm.
working as an educator, working these after school programs. Where does the collegiate part come in at?
I'm at a school called City of Angels, and it's an independent study. And so the students are one-on-one. And so a lot of them it's concurrent. Some of them are going to college or adult school, and they're in school with me once a week, picking up assignments, and they come to me weekly. So in that one-on-one experience, it gets very intimate, very personal. I'd say 30% of it is academics, 70, 80% is their personal lives. And so I became some sort of mentor magically. I didn't know I was a mentor. And they just loved talking to me. And so the main topic was the transition into college. They're high school seniors, they're heading out. They don't want mom and dad to know, they're terrified, but they want to appear like grown-ups. And so they're adulting out here. And so they took me on as a mentor, somebody they can talk to. That's how it turned into after school programming. But yeah, I just wanted to help them emotionally transition into college. So when a lot of them left me, they called me back. And that's the blessing of it all. Some of them were just like, oh, can you come and be a keynote at my school? I'm at Cal State Fullerton now, or I'm at UCLA now. So it was them. I give them all the credit. So they kind of brought me into this world by calling me.
Wow. Okay. Because I'm getting excited now. Because I know that there's someone who is listening to this
Mm,
and they don't have a concept or are not aware of what you're talking about when you talk about an independent learning,
mm,
one to one,
mm.
and then how students suggest things to you and then you do them because your podcast is pretty
Right.
popular. Now, let's
Oh,
not sit here and
thank
pretend
you.
like she got this itty bitty little bitty podcast.
Oh, you're
You have a
sweet.
pretty popular and productive podcast. But for the folks who don't know,
Mhm.
share a little bit about what that's like, the type of school that you work at, because a lot of places don't have those types of school.
Yeah, LA Unified is what the second biggest district in the country, and there's an option category. So it's where you find day school, continuation school, students that just was in trouble. So they're pretty much in day school for 4 hours. We were a school that was formed 30 plus years ago, and it was formed by teachers. It was created by teachers or founded by them. And it was all about that pregnant teen that couldn't go to school, that actor on the set that needed, some quick classes. So it was just with that spirit of servicing this student. It started for teenagers that, couldn't do regular school. Teachers created our program, and then it was adopted, and now it's accredited by the district. And pretty much, like I said, it's a once a week experience where they can come and sit in front of a teacher for an hour, get all 6 subjects, go home for the rest of the week, and time manage how you're going to do all those subjects, and then come back and submit the work. And then you have access to the teacher throughout the week, phone, email, all of that. But that's the convenience of it all. These kids today, some of them get spoiled. It's like you're in school once a week. You have to really have some time management at a young age. So we teach that early. And a lot of our students do well in college because they're getting that experience about being on their own already at home before they get into the college world. So it helps some, but doesn't help everybody. But it's definitely a great program.
So for the person who you were not aware that these type of things happen, that's what I explained to folks. Different things happen all over the United States, all over the world. And of course, we know in LA, there are a lot of actors schools and things like that. And quite frankly, a lot of rich folks. And
Mm-hmm.
so they make options available for them, because I would personally have loved
I
to been
know.
in that type of setting.
Me too. And that's why I get so mad at my students. Like, you're in school once a week. Really?
Why? And because they have had to manage themselves and make sure that they are doing the things that they need to do, and they are only in school once a week, so the audience might be able to see how they were able to suggest things to you, because I would assume that some of them are a little bit more cultured, a little bit more experienced, not all of them,
Right.
but some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to share things with you that allowed you to see this bigger gap, where now you're following with this path into the collegiate world.
Yeah, when I say I give them all the credit, I think that's why our podcast is doing so well, because the mission is all about what the students wanted. I just completely listened to them, and we're servicing their emotional anxiety of the transition. But that once a week experience, I mean, it includes all kinds of students. And I mean, we got super popular with COVID, and people just didn't want to go to school anymore. There's nothing wrong. We just don't want to go to school. So if we can have this once a week experience with you, and then I have access to you anytime before 3 o'clock, any time of the week, that's a very cool benefit for students. So, yeah, we accept everybody. I definitely wouldn't say that the market is per se, cultured, and we have some, but a lot of them may have been bullied. There might be some medical conditions, and they need this type of environment. Yeah, or they're struggling themselves because they have been a perpetrator of some kind, and so they need some discipline. And so they come to us, and there's not all of us are disciplined, but people like myself been around a long time. We're real disciplined. Like, if you're gonna stay here, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, all right. And so then they pretty much fall in love with the realness of it all, and that's how conversations happen. And so just by talking to them, it's like, why aren't you a counselor? I'm like, oh no, I had no interest in counseling. That wasn't my path. And they're like, well, wow, I just feel like I can talk to you. Can you do some after school programming? It just developed. It was like, okay, I started my business on my own, just because, like I said, I had the example of a father who was already an entrepreneur. So I just, oh, okay, let me just do something by myself at a recreational park. And it was across the street from the school I was at. And the kids came over, particularly the high school seniors that wanted to talk about going to college. So then we just started inviting guests, people that I knew in my life. I'm a graduate of Howard University, so I had, some good resources, HU. And so with that, I was able to bring in some powerful guests. And so it just kind of transferred over to the podcast because the students asked for it. And when I tell you they were so serious, I said, I love how you guys have these great ideas for me and these jobs for me. So I'm gonna need some help. And I said, I need you guys to help me with the podcast. And I picked about 5 ambassadors, one from Prairie View, Tuskegee, some that just went on. And my very first podcast guest was the director of psychiatry at Morehouse.
Wow.
That was number one. I was like, whoa, these kids are really serious. So I guess I have to get serious now. And so from there, it just unraveled, so many people from, like I said, I pulled Howard VPs and student affairs over there. And so now we got all kind of HBCU vice presidents of student affairs on our podcast. We have social workers, therapists, career pathways, whatever direction that student is in need of, we find that person, we bring them on the podcast. And so now I'm with you because it's evolving into a consultancy where we bring the podcast to life. We come on campus now. So all of this is my students, all of it.
All right. So wait a minute now. Tell us about the evolution. You said it's come to life. You bring it on campus. First of all, tell us the name of the podcast so that people can follow you and go and listen to it. And then tell us about your program that is now on campuses.
Okay, it's called the Back to Me podcast. And that was all about coming back to authentic self. That was the premise. And it's an interesting story, but I have a music background and I was a recording artist for a while. And when the music business didn't put out my record and I got divorced, all kind of stuff was happening in my life. I wrote an album called Back to Me. It was for me. And so I put it out there. I also had got some film placement and some music, so students kind of knew my voice. But I just put out this album called Back to Me, and the students related to the lyrics and they connected with their lives. And, whether they were watching their parents break up or they're dealing with divorce, witnessing divorce or cutters, they were experiencing so many things, doing cyberbullying. They were just connecting with my lyrics. So they inspired me yet again to take all of the lyrics and create a book. And that book became a workshop, which became the podcast. So that's why the Back to Me has continued because of them.
Okay. And now that is, I love all of this. Mm-hmm. So you have a book, you have a podcast. Now tell us, what does it look like in live on the campus?
Okay, so what we do now is currently we're doing these student virtual events. So pretty much mental health is our foundation. That's the foundation of my podcast. It's all about that emotional navigation into college and what that transition is all about. We focus on that incoming college freshman that just wants that support. And so with these virtual events, we bring students together, student leaders on campus, primarily juniors, seniors, so they can tell their story. Like this has been my journey on college, so they can directly relate immediately to the incoming student in their language. And when we do these virtual events, the departments, the student affairs departments, they pay for these events for me to put them together. I host them. I do the video editing for them. And it's just a 1-hour experience, Q&A. It's streamed out. It's for all the students that are listening to participate. Now, what we're trying to do is get on the campus. That's our next step, is to do some of this live, some student paneling live. So that's coming. But since I've been with you and putting this 12-week formula together, wow, just blowing my mind again. So now that I have the Back to Me program, which is actually called how to emotionally navigate through the college experience, or how to navigate the roller coaster ride of college, we're gonna just put this on campus where it's a workshop series. So I'm just kind of rolling out to a group of maybe 25 to 30 students at a time. How do you go through self-awareness? What are your emotional triggers? Let's unpack all these things. What does an authentic relationship feel like? How are you communicating with others? So I'm taking them through this whole 12-week experience based on what students have told me. And this is all content and issues that they have wanted to hear about and learn about. And by the end of it, I am connecting them to their passion, hopefully, in their majors, and that they have developed communication with their relationships, be it dating partners, be it family members, professors. They figured out how to authentically be themselves. And then we immediately connect them to internships with mentors and professionals that are already on the podcast. So it's like a one-stop shop. If you take care of yourself, I'm gonna take care of you. I know people, so get it together. So that's pretty much what I tell them, and they have a direct contact to, like I said, VPs of colleges. They'll walk you right in with a scholarship. That's how serious this podcast has become, and I'm like, whoa. Little old me. So sometimes I have to pinch myself, like, what? We are really doing this. And we just have such respect from these colleges. So I'm very fortunate. Very fortunate.
And so now we got to talk about this other success that you've had with the recent and past speaking engagements, because I don't think that people really get how you doing the thing that you love can
Mhm.
turn into income in another way. So tell us about these upcoming opportunities that you've secured.
Oh my goodness. Well, it looks like we've got two more student virtual events. Yeah, Coppin State University is in Maryland. Love them, love them, love them so much. The VP of Student Affairs, he jumped on our podcast, and I was just drawn to him because of their mission statement. They are pretty much connecting community colleges in California, Colorado, different places, so that you can get your 2-year degree and transfer right into their HBCUs. So they're really promoting HBCUs on community college campuses. So I was like, oh, I want to talk to him. So we started talking, and then I just wanted some advice. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't trying to come up with a second agenda, a side agenda, you know what I mean? I just simply said, hey, I'm thinking about putting a workshop together, getting on campus. I already have a virtual event. I want to do something like this. He said, why don't you do it with us? And so I said, okay. I just wasn't even trying to position myself where I got you on the podcast, so now you have to. I didn't want to come across that way, but he was like, no, I want to help you. And so pretty much we started the first virtual event with him. So now we're doing another one with the women on the campus for Women's History Month. There are some powerful educators, I'm sure you know, on HBCU campuses.
Yes.
Those professors are our parents, pretty much. And so there are some powerful women there that the students, they always talk about them. I'm like, okay, I keep hearing this woman's name, so I'm going to need her on the podcast. So I met her and we just kicked it off. And she was like, oh, yes, we got to do something. So that just happened. That happened like 2 weeks ago. She said, yeah, let's do it in March. We're working out the finances right now. I sent her the scope of work, the pitch. I sent all that to her, and she said, I need you to come down $1,000. I promoted 5,000. She wanted me to come to 4. I said, okay, let's do it. I said, I've worked with you guys before, so let's do this. I said, it's about relationship at this point.
Yes.
It's about
Yes.
money. I just want to be in relationship with you because I'm in the process of finishing a 12-week program. So that's coming around. I did let her know. I said, that's coming around. But for now, yeah, let's do another virtual event. So that's happening. And then Morris Brown College in Georgia, the VP of Student Affairs over there, I met him. I was on an HBCU tour with some of my students. He was just powerful. He was like a preacher talking to these students. And I just walked up to him. I said, okay, you know what? I have a podcast. I'm going to need you to get on the podcast. I just say it just like that. He just loved my approach. He thought I was hilarious. He said, let's talk about it. And I said, let's do it. I said, because you're over here preaching to these children, and I'm going to need you to preach to everybody. So he jumped on the podcast. He was fantastic promoting Morris Brown College because a lot of their students, 30% of their population is from California. And so now he wants to do a mental health virtual event as well. So that's coming up.
Wow, congratulations on all of this. And let me just point out something that I often try to communicate to educators,
Mhm.
because we've been in the school system so long, and in the world of education and the institution that we're in, we always have we feel like we have to come across as this uber professional, super, grammatically correct, just that whole tense, it creates tension.
Right.
But I noticed that you said you went up to him and you were just like your regular self, and you were like, you preaching.
Okay.
I need you on the podcast.
Real quick.
And he instantly connected with you and was like, I love your approach.
Yeah.
Can you just speak to the idea of but just being yourself. You don't have to be this super professional, no matter how many degrees you have, how many years you've been in education, because you've been in education 25 years,
Right.
but that's not what got you through the door.
No. Mm-mm. It was me, first of all, giving the flowers up front to the person. You know what I mean? I'm there to actually authentically experience you. I want to walk away feeling something. And so with him, I just felt something and it was unexpected. I was just there on a HBCU tour with these kids. It was wearing me out. And it just so happened that he was just so powerful talking to men. That's what it was about. It was about black men and their plight and where they're at and what they're supposed to be doing. And he was just so real that I just felt comfortable enough to talk to him. And I think it's I guess being an HBCU grad, you kind of have that feeling like you just are family already. Like we're all family. So I felt like he was family when I walked up to him. How you doing? That was so powerful. I'm gonna need you on my podcast. That's how it went. And he said, "Tell me more about it." I said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, can we jump on the phone like next week?" And he said, "Hit me up in the LinkedIn." We did. I had to hit them up a few times because they're very busy. These VPs are extremely busy.
Yes.
And I said, okay. And then I sent him an email and I said, okay, so is this week not going to be good or next week? He's like, I know, Yoli, I'm so sorry. I forgot. I said, we can just do it next week. I just stayed on him a little bit. And he appreciated that. And a lot of them do appreciate if you stay on them, like
Yes.
a week or something. And so I did. And yeah, he just feels like family to me. And then once you're on my podcast, you're a family member anyway. So it's like, I got you now. So can't go nowhere. If I need you, if we do an event, because eventually I'm going to talk to you about that, retreats and just, all this.
Absolutely.
When we start bringing these podcast guests together, actually talking to Sherry, I actually talked to a VP at UC Irvine who was on my podcast, and I said, I just want his advice. Just what type of retreat would interest you? And he just simply told me, "Oh, okay, but I don't want to be sold to, so don't pitch too much to me.
Absolutely.
I'll do a retreat where I get to relax, drink some wine." And I said, "Yeah, I'm thinking about a retreat where there'll be music, live entertainment, and then we'll get into some workshop about helping them students on your campus, and I might promote my little 12-weeker." He said, "We'll do it at the end." you know, so that was valuable. So now I can put that together for Sherry and we can figure out a retreat. So it's just being yourself, just treating these people like family members. That's it.
That's it. All right. So this is so good. I know we could go on forever and ever. Tell me, where
Mhm.
do you see your business 1 year from now? You're already doing some absolutely amazing things. You've made some amazing progress. Where will the business be a year from now?
Oh my goodness. Well, with your help, I'm so glad I found you. I hope to have at least 3 or 4 of these signature contracts in under my belt, because if they're 25,000 a pop, I mean, 100 G's in a year is looking pretty good. But if I can do it less than than 12 months, that would be great.
Absolutely.
But I'm thinking 3 or 4 is a good target number. It gives me something every quarter to aspire to. And then maybe one retreat. And I'm thinking that a retreat based on LJ, my accountability partner, doing one retreat for those college professionals. So that's why I
Yes.
reached out to him and I was like, what would you like to experience? So if
And
I
that's going to be a six-figure retreat. So that's going to make a $200,000 year. I'm just saying.
Oh, well then let's talk about it. I had no idea. I had no idea. So so yeah, that's what I would like to see happen.
So, for folks who are listening and you're wondering, how do people make continual progress? Those people who you see, who you say, how did they do it? We're bringing you all of these interviews so you can see people. Look at Yoli. She, classroom teacher, just like you, made a decision, had some impact. She had her why, which is really important. She had the backing of the experiences from her dad and the impression that he left on her, and she moved forward. And then one thing led to another, which led to another. But at the end of the day, you got to give God something to bless. A
Oh,
lot of us are just hoping and praying,
yeah.
and that's only half of the formula. Hope is not a strategy, and
Mm,
prayer is only half of the formula. You got to give God something to bless. And
yeah.
so I truly believe that the reason you've been as successful is because you're actually giving God something to bless. You're making a decision, you're moving forward, and you're open. A lot of people won't listen to kids. These
Right.
young folks, they are wise,
Yes.
and they know. And so you actually listened to what the young folks suggested to you. And
Hmm.
so I commend you on that, because it's a bunch of us. When we look at us,
Yeah.
we ain't 25 no more. And we know if you've been in that school system for 25 years, you're not 25 years old, even though we might look 25 years old or
Yeah.
a little older. I'm gonna give us 35, okay?
And wait, I have to give you credit because when you and I spoke, you told me on my podcast to make sure I include students more in my interviews. And so I thought that the students just needed to come to the podcast to get those scholarships, to get those jobs, those internships. But I asked students directly and I said, why aren't enough of you guys responding to the podcast? And they're like, because we like to hear from us. That's nice that you guys are there, but we want to hear from us. So this, for those who want to tune in and go to the Back to Me podcast, we're doing the Divine Nine series in honor of the Divine Nine candidate on the ballot. And I do it every year. I do a Divine Nine series, and it's always been adults. So this time I'm doing undergrads. This week are my Omegas. We just finished the everybody else. We're going through the Divine Nine setup, but we did the first three, and it's all students, and they are incredible. These students.
Yes.
Wow, we have some amazing students in college, particularly at HBCUs. One of them's from Arizona State. I mean, Kentucky University. It's amazing, these kids. So thank you for telling me to get these kids on the podcast. So we're doing
All
that.
right, you are so welcome. So before we close out, I just want you to share with somebody who's listening who
Mhm,
needs a word. What would you share with them if they know that they need to do something different, but
mhm.
they are still fearful and not really sure if they should take this risk?
Wow, if you're not sure if you should take the risk, well, definitely keep your day job. That's highly recommended. Okay. Keep your day job as you are considering this passion. And I would definitely do it on a part time basis. Figure out in your schedule what you can do once a month, once or twice, a week. What is something doable for you, whatever that passion may be? Just kind of dip your toe in it and play with calling a couple people and letting them know. And that's what I did. I just asked friends, like, I have this idea. What do you think? And they were just like, well, just try it with like 5 kids. Just start small. You know what I mean? It was like, just experiment. So it was something that was comfortable for me. I kept it really small. Like I said, I like to be home at 3 o'clock. But I said, if I'm going to do this after school thing, I'll do a 4 to 5 window, whatever. I came up with it really quick. And it just grew from there. And then it became something that, okay, I'm going to make time for this. So things have to naturally grow and before you really want it. So I would start really small, and I definitely would not just quit your life. You, like I said, quit your day job until you're super comfortable with where you're going. Because my plan is to leave LAUSD in 2026 with Dr. D's help. That is the plan. So but I'm hanging in there because I want to make sure. And I've been doing this thing 4 or 5 years now. So yeah, you gotta wait. It takes time and patience, but baby steps.
All right, so baby steps.
Yeah.
And I think that brings a really good point up before we close out, is that, you know, you don't have to just quit your job. You can do your job and start a business and build that business. And my rule of thumb is, once your income from your business has surpassed the income from your job, you already know it's time to go.
This
And
time.
so give yourself some leadway.
Mhm,
Give yourself 12 months. I think that in 12 months we can make anything happen, because we can have a whole baby, we can
mm,
bring a whole life into the world. But
mhm.
trying to say, I only got 2 months, I'm quitting my job in May and I need to have a contract by August, that's not realistic and
Yeah.
that's not really the way it works. So
Mhm.
I absolutely agree. Baby steps, and you can still work your job and put a plan in place so that you're not so shocked and confused when things maybe don't go as planned. Because really, there is no plan with entrepreneurship. You
No.
do the work and you just know it's going to work or it's going to work.
Mhm. And I was going to add that when you're in your day job, you're already paying your bills, you're already
Yeah.
comfortable. So you don't come off desperate when you're talking to people.
Yep.
That
Very true.
also reads.
Yeah, because the same energy that you put into the business is
Mhm.
what you're putting in the business. So if you come into it out of desperation, you're just building desperation into the business, and that's not what we want. We want a business that's built off of abundance and grace. And
Yeah.
so that's what we want to put into the business. So I love it, love it, love it, love it. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Yoli, for sharing your time and your story with us. And
Mhm.
again, if people want to contact you, if they want to check out the podcast, if they want to have you come in as a keynote speaker for any event or to show up at an event, or maybe they want you to do the workshops at their church or somewhere, tell
Mm.
them how they can find you.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. You can definitely reach me on Instagram at the Back to Me podcast, THE Back to Me podcast, or you can get me on LinkedIn, Yoli Tamu, YOLITAMU. Those two places are great. I'm definitely on Facebook as well, the Back to Me podcast. But LinkedIn is best. That's where the business is going down, and LinkedIn. So I would definitely go there. Yeah, Yoli Tamu. And I just want to say thank you. I mean, this is amazing what you have put together. Your energy is how how do you do it?
Because I have all of these amazing people that I work with. And it's like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm so in my tribe. I feel
Mm,
so connected. So it makes it really easy. I
yeah,
absolutely love it. Thank you so much
thank
for
you.
sharing your story, folks. Follow her, connect with her on LinkedIn. Go ahead and message her so that you all can be in communion and check out that podcast, y'all. The
Yeah.
numbers are already good. Let's get them even better. Let's
Yes.
run it up, y'all. We got the ability and the power to run it up. So get on over there, subscribe to that Back to Me podcast, and reach out to her on LinkedIn. And thank you so much, Yoli.
Oh, thank
We will
you.
see you all in the next interview. We got another one. We got another one.